Hello there, La-di-das and national spectators. Welcome to another video edition of the La-di-da Times. I am Jeff Cougar Kozlowski, and I am currently once again in the quietest room in my house, which is my backyard. Those of you who are parents of younger kids, you know what I'm talking about here. So today's a special episode here. It is our post World Tournament edition. So we'll be kind of going over the World Tournament as a whole. But I want to dedicate this portion here to our new champions, the Bovina Dairymen. And so we're going to be getting a lot from them and from their perspectives here. But first, I want to introduce our resident researcher, player, umpire, you name it, he's done it. Mr. Marcus Razorback Dixon. Marcus, thanks again for coming on board with me.
Always good to be back. Good to be with the Dairymen.
Hopefully it's be at the post-World Tournament. I know for those that have played, even if dramatic and traumatic injuries have taken place there, it's still the occasional sore arm and sore elbow still kind of rears its ugly head, but hopefully everybody has made it home safe, and hopefully all injuries are in the process of healing here. But as I mentioned, I'm really excited because we've got with us here not one, but four of the Bovina Dairymen, of the new World Tournament champion Bovina Dairymen here. And we'll kind of introduce them off as we go here, starting with the club captain, but the one of many that helps make the team go through here, Mr. Nick Franza. Nick, how are you doing?
I think I'm fully almost recovered from do you hear the quietest room in my house, kids upstairs? I think I'm almost recovered. We drove home on Monday, and we had quite a bonding session on Sunday evening. So Monday was an early morning, I think, for just about everybody. And Tuesday I was pretty much dead at work. So I think Wednesday I was actually a human. But also, it's been ever since we went to the World Tournament a year ago. I've been thinking and planning about the World Tournament. And so it was a huge emotional roller coaster for me personally, to go there and to actually win, because I'd been thinking about it and planning about it for a year. It's hard to believe, but it was pretty darn cool.
Well, that is awesome to hear. I'm glad you're starting to recover. Or at least they're almost there and such here. You are not alone in that regard there. Joining us also, Troy Tucker. Troy, how are you feeling, my friend?
Well, I'd like to say that I'm feeling as good as Nick, but I don't think that's quite the case. Yeah, definitely still in recovery mode. Took a couple, hard slides and collisions, and yeah, we're working through. Took a couple days off of work after also driving home on Monday, a long 10+ hour drive home. So that was there was a lot of celebration on the way home, but also a lot of every time you hit a bump, but for all for the greater good anyways. But yeah, all's well. The tournament was amazing, like Nick had said. After last year rolling in and kind of not knowing what we were getting ourselves into and kind of getting beat up the first day last year, was incentive to come back this year full force and give it our all, and we did, and it wasn't easy, but wasn't easy by any means. We fought back every game, so it was, couldn't ask for better baseball this past weekend, and great weather and everything.
Well, Troy, your pain must have been made a little easier knowing you were going home with the best thrower on distance award.
Yeah, I mean, I was not expecting that, to be quite honest with you. There was a lot of really good ball players there that might seem a little more muscular than me, but you know, I guess I came away in the end and, you know, had a good chuck and
There you go.
brought home
That'll do it.
the longest throw.
And in reference to those bumps there on the way home, on behalf of everybody from the state of Michigan, we'd like to apologize for those. The Michigan roads, we are kind of notorious for not being the best at them. So we apologize for those bumps on the 75 headed back down. Unless you went through Canada. Did you guys go through Canada or did you go through the American route?
We went through the American route, and Jeff, honestly, Michigan looks pretty good compared to some of the New York highways. So,
oh, yes,
And it looks really good compared to the Ohio highways, guys.
Yeah.
Well,
I think 86 Interstate 86 in New York has been under construction for the last 30 years, and it shows its age.
well, we're glad you made it home, and we and again, congratulations on that longest thrower award. It's an awkward one, but Marcus, real quick, can you answer to it's not a running start that they would have done there for the longest thrower competition, right?
Yeah. So this is one of those things that we know what they did in 1867, but we don't know why. They for the longest, the best thrower on distance was the actual term they used. They gave the people who competed a 4-foot space. So it was essentially a flat-footed throw, and they had to operate within that. So again, we have the documentation that that's what they did, but nothing I've ever seen says why they thought, oh, this is a good idea.
You get no run into it. There you go, Harry.
The more it hurts, the more man you were.
Yeah, it was actually pretty funny. We were standing up there. I was actually sitting down at the time, and a couple of the other participants got up and threw first, and I think most of them were at least 10 years younger than me. And I kind of sat there, and at the end, I think I was the second to last person to go, and there was three participants that were like probably in their early 20s, and they're like, "Are you going to throw the ball further than us?"
Well,
and I was like, "I don't know. This is pretty weird. It's kind of like pitching overhand out of the stride." So it worked out in the end, but it was fun regardless. Definitely awkward.
So the one thing we forgot to do this year and was we didn't have our very historically accurate golf distance cider to tell exactly how far the throw had been. So we didn't get that for you. Usually we try to disguise that a little bit and then mysteriously declare how far the throw had been. But they didn't have it, so we don't know. But nonetheless, it was plenty far.
Mm-hmm. And so
next year.
Next year for anyone that that knows that, like, it is, again, it's just a 4-foot space there. And so when Troy did that, he muscled it out there. So it's not like you get a running start and get momentum going. Like, it is just pure on upper body strength and torque. So great job to you, Troy. Dylan Tucker, thanks for coming on board with us today. Tell me real quickly here, what were your thoughts on the weekend?
I'll kind of echo what Nick said in that it's been a long time of after last year, it was like we had a great time, and I would say I don't think it was very long after we got there last year that all of us kind of looked at each other and were like, we need to do this again. At that point, we were probably still getting beat up in the first day, but it was just seemed like it's a really awesome spot and probably the most well-run tournament that we've played in. And I think that kind of said it for us, like, yep, we're in the middle of losing these 2 games, but this is a pretty cool thing, and it's pretty neat to be a part of. And then after the way we finished last year, and won a couple games, and I think we had all talked about it, and it was like, we absolutely want to come back, and we know what we're getting ourselves into, and we want to go back and play Dairyman baseball. And as ugly as some of it was, I feel like we did. Because there's games where we score a lot of runs, but then I feel like the games that I remember the most are the games where we struggle and struggle and struggle, and then find some way to pull it off. And that is pretty special when that happens. 4 games in a row.
I mean, this is not a tournament. I don't know if anybody has ever won it the first time out, other than in the very first year. I think every team goes through some sense of a learning curve with it. But boy, you boys answer to it quickly, very quickly there. Speaking of the walking wounded, man who took the biggest brunt of the damage, and yet also we could say delivered the biggest brunt of the damage here. Iron Mike Brown. Mr. Brown, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Jeff.
For those who weren't there or didn't see it, Mike, can you, no pun intended, can you walk us through what happened?
Yeah, so the play itself, I mean, from what I can remember, I think I may have hit a hard grounder to either third or short, and I remember trying to beat it out. I think maybe he bobbled it. I busted it out of the box. I took a quick peek. I saw the bobble, so obviously I'm trying to get there as fast as I can. And maybe I was 3/4 of the way down the line, or maybe almost the first. And for the first time in my life, I've never done it before, but I felt the pop, and obviously came up lame. Tried to stay on the bag, because as I was hitting the bag, I saw the first baseman ball, I think. I'm just doing this off the top of my head from what I can remember, but yeah, and it was painful. And I think it was Nick and Dylan kind of tried to carry me off the field. I think it was Nick and Dylan, and I said something to the effect of like, no, I want to walk. And then I sat down, and I had a few other choice words that aren't safe for families, and under my breath, of course. But yeah, just kind of, tried to rub it out, roll it out. Some nice people on the sideline gave me like a lidocaine patch, which didn't last very long. So tried to patch it up as best I could, because yeah, sitting really wasn't in the cards. So considering the circumstances, but it was my first time doing it, and I don't recommend it. Don't want to do it again. That's for sure.
0 stars, would not recommend.
Nope, definitely not.
Well, I mean, that is a pulled hamstrings are never fun, especially in a championship game. But that's a heck of amount of will to be able to stick that out, and to continue as you did here. That garnered you a whole lot of respect for everybody that was around. So well done to you all. So with our time here, so we kind of want to walk you through the World Tournament here, but again through the eyes of the Dairymen here. But for many of us that may be listening here, perhaps this is their introduction to the Bovina Dairymen here, as we now sit here as number 1, the easternmost team to ever win the World Tournament, and the first ever team from the great state of New York to win the World Tournament here. So, so there's definitely some things that we'll address with that here. But for you guys, and I'll let you kind of take turns with it here, just to kind of get the introduction here. If you could here, for those that don't know, where is Bovina, New York, to kind of put in a frame of reference here, and give us the origin of the Dairymen and the dairy story here with the team.
Yeah, so Bovina, New York is about 3 hours northwest of New York City in a region of New York called the Catskill Mountains. There, some low mountains. There's a Catskill, state park. There's a lot of wild land here. New York City's reservoirs are all around the Catskill Mountains, and two of the largest are actually in Delaware County. And so it's a pretty rural area, but there's a lot of history and a lot of culture around. And, for the Dairymen specifically, also, to orient you a little bit, we're about an hour south of Cooperstown, New York. So in about 2008, a guy named Harlow Bray, who I have a saying that to be a vintage baseball captain, you have to be a character. The first, obviously I'm not, but everybody else is. So the first captain of the Dairymen was Harlow Bray, and he started the team with John Finn and basically kind of like their friend group, of guys. My stepfather Gary, who you saw at the World Tournament, with my son Henry. He was the old guy in these cute grandfather-grandson pictures that I put up. It was kind of like their age group kind of started the thing, and then they roped in myself, Dylan, Mike, Troy, and a couple of other guys on the team. So we were like the young guys back then, and we were playing teams mostly in overhand ball. So this is like 1890s ball, which is basically modern baseball. We were playing the Roxbury 9. We played the Brooklyn Atlantics. We played the Fleischmann's Mountain Athletic Club, the MAC. And, it was a relatively informal, sort of a very town ball kind of feel. We'd play 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year, if that. And then, we kind of fell off in the middle 2010s, and, some guys moved away. Harlow got busy with other things. There wasn't anybody to sort of, fill that void. And all of these guys have heard this story before, so they'll, tune out. But I was in law school at the time. I'm a lawyer. I was in New York City, and I was going for a run on a Thursday night. And it's, 6:30 p.m. on Thursday night. We've got a game. The Dairymen have a game on Saturday. And I told Harlow that I wanted to go. So he calls me 6:30 p.m. Thursday night, and he says, "Hey, my daughter's got a soccer game. I can't go on Saturday. You're going to be my lieutenant, and you're going to run the show." I said, "Okay, no problem. Like, how many guys do we have?" He says, "Well, assuming you're in, we've got one." So Harlow and I spent the next, 36 hours on the phone. We scraped together 9 guys, and we played in a hayfield at like a local sort of festival, the Dairy Fest, oddly enough. And we won in a walk-off, 30-29. And I was hooked. I started calling all of my old friends who I used to play ball with, Mike, the Tucker boys, my brother, a few other guys, John Finn. I think we played 7 games that year. We did our first travel game. We went to Connecticut. We're kind of like the tail end of the New England circuit, so to speak. I was hooked. And so here we are 9 years later. And, the Dairymen has become something that I never thought it was going to be. It's really become a second family, so to speak. It's become a place where we have forged some really lifelong, core memories and friendships and relationships. And all the guys on the team, I pretty much have known I've been playing baseball with Dylan since we were probably about 12 years old, and now we're in our 40s. I've been playing baseball with Dylan longer than anybody except my brother. You know, Troy grew up playing ball with my brother. So did Mike. They were all like my brother's generation, about 5 years younger than Dylan and I. And so, you know, a lot of these kind of relationships and have, you know, stood this test in this like rural area where, you know, if you want cool stuff to happen, like you basically have to organize it yourself, you know. And I don't know, you know, as these guys will tell you, I could talk forever about Dairymen baseball or basically anything else. But I don't know, that's kind of where the Dairymen came from. And then just every couple of years for the last 9 years, we've sort of, you know, I feel like we've kind of found a new pocket of baseball. And, you know, first it was really just the New England circuit and some of the Long Island guys. And then we sort of discovered Gettysburg and we got invited down there. We started playing some of the Mid-Atlantic teams, and that's how we ran into like Canton and Flat Rock. And then they invited us out and sort of vouched for us to give us a bid last year. And, you know, now we're, you know, exploring the Midwest circuit and finding this like very, you know, competitive but gentlemanly, you know, form of 60s ball that we really, really enjoy.
That's cool to hear, and like kind of the origin story, and especially the family aspect of it. Like in the grand, that seems like no matter who we talk to, like geographically, age wise, it doesn't matter. Like the family aspect is something that we hear all the time. Like that's why you get in, it's why you stay. You know, these ball players are like the family you've chosen, sort of deal. And so that's really cool that it's here as well here. So and you know, and speaking of Canton, I that was one of the first times I remember hearing your team's name was Mike Finney, who actually came to us and was like, hey, you got to get these guys out here. They're good. I don't remember which turn, if it was Gettysburg or somewhere else. I think it was Gettysburg, but he was like, yeah, you got to get the Dairymen. They're so good. So kudos to Mike for making that connection there.
I think
go ahead.
Sorry. No, you're fine.
Ahead.
I think that Finney moonlighted with Flat Rock that first year at Gettysburg, and God, Flat Rock just had an all-star squad, and they did a tournament, a bracketed tournament that year at Gettysburg. It's the only year they've ever done it, and we played 4 one-run games. No, excuse me. We played 3 one-run games that first year at Gettysburg. Ended up losing to Flat Rock in the semifinal, 10-9 in a walk-off. And that was our first experience with Flat Rock and Mike Finney. And you know, just as the Detroit, you know, as the World Tournament, like the next year we went to Gettysburg again. And we're like, all we want to do is beat Flat Rock. And
join the club.
Yeah. But so, you know, going into this World Tournament, we were 1-1 against Flat Rock, so that was a little bit of extra incentive for us to, you know, win the rubber match. So
true on form, Marcus, that's a match, isn't it, at that point there, like a 3-game series as opposed to just one?
Yeah, by rule in 1867, they went back and forth on this several times, but in 1867, a match is supposed to be best of 3, although it is best of 3 within one season. You know, unless the teams agree to do a single game match. But yeah, we definitely played up that they were 1-1 going into that championship game on the hill. I mentioned a couple of times that it was a 1-1 situation.
So let's go into that element more here. I mean, we talked about it before, but I wanted to kind of come back to it here. That, you know, this is your second World Tournament. You were here last year as well. You know, and for any of you guys that you want to answer to this here, what changed between last year and this year? And this could be, anything that you may have noted, not just on the diamond, but what was different from 25 to 26 in your minds and perspectives?
Yeah, I can probably answer that a little bit. So, I mean, obviously, your first time coming into the World Tournament, you don't really know the venue, the atmosphere, which is incredible atmosphere there. But there's definitely a lot of strategy in, in Greenfield Village. Field 1 is, it's so unique with the hill and the trees in right field. Playing 1867 compared to what we're normally playing. So there's a lot of differences in the rules, really. I mean, we're primarily on the East Coast. We play, catch it on the bounce for an out. So this year in preparation, we, tried to play a few games early on in the season to prepare ourselves for the World Tournament. Because that's not typically what we would play. So I think that played a huge factor. Was getting a little practice in this year to get the rules down, kind of get the strategy. It's a huge difference in the outfield, which showed in the first couple games this year, even just like positioning to hit the ball and trying to catch it on the fly. You gotta play in a little bit closer than you would in 64, where you just kind of sit back and wait for the bounce. But yeah, definitely just a little more preparation and knowing what we did after 2025, you definitely just get a better idea what's going on for the whole tournament.
For sure.
Also, it didn't hurt to have my brother there this weekend. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, kind of piggybacking off of Troy, the obvious preparation piece, but having Luke helps. I mean, just from a personal perspective, anyone who's a pitcher knows that when you have a stout defense behind you, you play with more confidence. So I thought overall, last year we brought a great team, and didn't perform as well as we'd liked, but this year's team was one of the better ones we've fielded in the last couple of years. Life happens, a lot of games, people have things going on. So, whether it was our A squad or not, I thought our team as a whole was definitely more prepared this year, having that year under our belt. And frankly, and I think, the other guys can agree, the way we came out in the tournament last year kind of left a bad taste in our mouth. We do this for fun. We love the game and everything, but we didn't feel like we came as prepared as we wanted to and performed as well as we wanted to last year. And that was extra motivation to just simply do better this year.
It's amazing how that can kind of build too. Like, yeah, I like your point, Mike. Like, we do this for fun. This is a game for exercise and recreation and amusement. But when you don't play to the ability that that you personally can, like, yeah, but it's not that fun. It could be a lot more fun if I could have just hit the ball, sort of thing. So
exactly, yes.
Well,
yeah.
But one thing, just from an umpire's perspective, one thing I want to say about you guys is there were certainly moments where a given play didn't go the way you wanted, or a given time at bat didn't go the way you wanted, and you might think about that later. But I don't remember times that something didn't go the way you wanted, and the people in the crowd would have said, "Oh, those guys are complainers. Oh, those guys are, they're whiners." They looked at you and felt that you were playing the game the right way. And I think that was something that from an umpire's perspective I'm certainly very aware of. And I didn't umpire any of your games, but I know that we always look at going into a game. I know I'm going to miss a call somewhere. What's going to happen when that does happen? And none of the other umpires said, we're worried about the Bovina guys when that happens. So, from our perspective, we appreciate that about your club.
Yeah, and I think that says a lot about our team too. Back to Dairymen baseball in general. As a group, like Nick said, we've evolved into this. It's kind of like a second family. A lot of us have played baseball together for the majority of our lives, and obviously some newcomers that we're playing with now. But the chemistry that we have, that just because things aren't going well, which was the case with all 4 games this year, is like you can't give up. In 1867 baseball, just because somebody scores 8 runs on you in an inning does not mean the game is over. Anything can happen. And we know that better than anybody. And, because if somebody's going to score 8 runs on you, there's a good chance you're going to come back and score 8 runs on them and, a couple innings from there. So it's like, you don't give up, you stay positive, try and play good defense and get up there and hit the ball. But yeah, a game in 1867 is nowhere near over. Even at 15 runs, it's not over till it's over.
Right.
We've had some wild comebacks over the years, and I was kind of telling the team on Sunday evening, the thing that I was most proud of was that we were behind in every single game, and nobody gave that classic body language of defeat. Nobody came into the bench complaining about the umpire. Nobody came in with this sort of defeatist thing, because especially the guys here, we're not going to tolerate that. That's not what we're doing here. And yeah, it's fun, but also we expect to play high level baseball when we step onto the field. And so last year, right, we lost our first 2 games on day 1, and there was some talk around the dinner table that night. We all got together, as we pretty much do on every road trip. We have a team dinner somehow. And it's by the way, things like that is what makes the team culture, and it's how we're able to keep this thing going. But there's some talk around the dinner table, you know what, we're not gonna win, so if we just lose our 8 a.m. game tomorrow morning, then we can go do some touristy things around Detroit, and we'll be okay with it, no big deal. And then the next morning I think we're playing the Nationals. I don't remember.
You sure were.
Right.
Sure were.
We're playing the Nationals, and it turns out to be a tight ball game, and all of a sudden we all just look around at each other, and we get into the game, we want to win. And all that talk of let's go check out whatever in Detroit, that just evaporated. We came here to try and win ball games, and whatever game we're in, that's why you step on the field. And I don't know, we really have a strong culture like that, and that's one of the things that I'm most proud of this team is, whether we're up by 10 or down by 10, the feeling on the bench is basically the same ish.
So, yeah.
If I had to choose one, I know which one I'd choose.
Well, knowing now that going around and doing the touristy stuff in Detroit was on the table last year, I'd like to apologize to the Metro Detroit Board of Tourism for the Nationals' performance last year, and we would have maybe elevated a little more. But no, so So we've got that difference there between 2025 and 2026 here. So we're here. It's 2026 now. You got 3 games prior to our championship here against the Columbus Buckeyes, the Walker Tavern Wheels, and on Sunday the Columbus Capitals to make it to the finals. Is there anything from any of those 3 games that jumps out to you that maybe says like, this is something, this was an event, this was a moment, maybe this is one where you're like, nah, you know what, guys, this year's different. Like this year I think we can do this? Or is there anything from those first 3 games that made you say like, we got this now?
Go ahead, Troy.
I honestly did not have a moment where I felt like, we definitely have this. I mean, every game was a struggle, and not just a struggle because we were playing well. We were playing decent. And I think it just goes to show that like every team that was at the tournament this past weekend, if they're playing well, they can win that tournament. You don't just go and, come from behind, for 4 games in a tournament and win it and, expect that you're, just the best. Like every team that was there this weekend on a good day, like they're all going to be good games. So like things ended up in our favor and we stayed positive and, got back up from being behind and hit the ball and, scored runs. But, at the end of the day, like any of those teams could have won that tournament if things were slightly different. And I think just this weekend, we pulled it together. We stayed positive with each other as a team, and never gave up and never got negative, even when we were down. So, but I think that's a good shout out to every team that was there because anybody could have won that tournament.
I think for me, I actually did have a kind of moment like that. So, game 1, we played the Buckeyes and it was a tight ball game and we had never played them before, but, I think going into the match, we were very confident. And then like they took us pretty much down to the wire. I think they scored like 7 runs on us in the first inning. But then like our defense stiffened up and we scored just enough to win. I think we won 12-9. But then like Walker, our second game on day 1, I like internally, I thought we were going to lose that game, in the middle innings. And I think the moment for me, so in the last 2 frames, so like we scored like 7 in the bottom of the second to last, whatever it was. And then I think we were up by 1. And, the time limit thing sort of gives an incentive. If you can draw an inning out, you can run out the clock. And, so so we're going into that inning and I think I asked the umpire, I believe it was Paul, it's like, is this the last inning, sir? And he says, not necessarily. And I was like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. And we put up a 0 in the top and then we came up to bat in the bottom and we scored, I think we scored 6 runs in the bottom. And it just had this feeling we weren't just running out the clock, but like we were like putting a finishing on this game. Right. And I think for me, that was the moment where I felt like, okay, we are like in a groove, playing good baseball. And it's like, if this is the kind of baseball that we're going to play here. And so what happened was like, we did run out the clock on the inning, but because we scored 6 runs in an inning in our half, not because like, it just worked out that way. We scored eked across 1 run. No, like we scored 6 runs to like ice the game. And I think that moment was kind of like, okay, if this is the kind of baseball that we are going to play here, then like we got a chance against anybody here. And just that really felt good to end that game that way instead of, squeaking by on like a time limit thing.
So we've got that. You got it almost like I don't want to say a swagger, but at least enough of the confidence to know like this, we can do this here. And I want to take this over into the championship game. We've had the 11 o'clock game, then we have the skills competition, and then about a 20-minute gap where we're just kind of sitting on our thumbs, which I remember when we went to the championship in 24 against Canton, like that, it felt like one of those icing the kicker kinds of moments where I'm like, we're ready to go. And we're just sitting here for 20 minutes. Like, can we just start early, guys? Come on. Marcus, I kind of want to direct this one to you because I know you were up on the hill. What's the vibe of the crowd? Let's talk about the crowd. I want to ask you first, Marcus, like what you noticed about the crowd's reaction just to the game, but also to the Dairymen here. And then, guys, I want to ask you like about you noticing the crowd too. So Marcus, what was the crowd like?
Well, if you're asking about the crowd's reaction, before we get to the championship game, I have to mention the reaction of the crowd, and particularly the ladies of the crowd who voted for the finest uniform. And I have to tell you, gentlemen, that there are credible allegations of ballot stuffing in the election for finest uniform. And I reminded several of the people there that they were voting for the uniform and not the gentleman within the uniform. And the ladies that I spoke to did not seem to make that distinction. So you had quite a group of fans. You had quite a group of supporters on the hill the whole way through.
Midwest hospitality.
Yes, absolutely.
They were not local to Bovina, New York, by the way.
No, that is very true. They were local to Greenfield Village. But no, they had a.
What are you going to do next week in the vote? My goodness.
One of the things in the tournament in the past couple of years, we do have some extremely competitive teams, as you well know, in the area. And, we've had some wonderful championship games. But I think people were also saying it's not that Flat Rock, or they don't like Canton, or they don't like Walker Tavern, but they were saying, boy, we'd like to see something new. And if you looked at the championship bracket, it had a lot of new faces, and people were just excited to see that. The whatever came into the championship match was going to be something different than we've seen for the past few years. But sometimes that championship match is a bit anticlimactic. That the best game of the tournament was, one of the earlier ones, and the actual championship match ends up not being all that competitive. That was certainly not the case in this game. One of the things that we look at is how many people do we lose during the game? People who start off and then wander off to go do some of the other cool things at Greenfield Village, and that number was virtually zero during the championship game. It was, there were not people deciding, no, I'm done with this. I'm going to go, I'm going to go to the Mary Martha Chapel or go to one of the other buildings. They wanted to stay to see the game. And so I thought that was a great indicator of the quality of the play. And I think you probably heard the ratchets that were going whenever a score would come in. And, that's a real, the local folks don't do the ratchets except for the teams they like. So I thought that was pretty telling as well.
So to you guys, not just noticing, the crowd at Greenfield Village, but I guess crowds in general. Did that play into it at all, or how much, if any, did the crowd for the championship game matter or make a difference to you guys?
I think I can speak to that a little bit. I mean, we don't typically play in front of a crowd of more than, I don't know, probably 60. On a good day, 40, 50, 60 people maybe. Maybe a little more at, like some of the festivals, we'll get a pretty good turnout, but typically it's probably like 50, 60 people on a good day. And that's certainly not the case there. And I think it adds an element to the game that we're not typically used to, just in that, there's a lot of spectators. The ball goes, into the spectators regularly, or I mean, you hope it doesn't, right? But it ends up there, whether it's, a foul ball down the left field line on field one, or an overthrow past first base. The spectators are in play, like it or not, and to kind of have that be a part of the game is pretty different, and I think we embrace that, whether it's interacting with them, or like literally running between them. So for me, it's definitely a neat part of the game that we don't usually get to experience.
Yeah, I think another cool thing, especially with this tournament, is at the end, obviously, there's recognition for the ball players that are present. They come down to the field during the ceremony and all that, and a lot of them stick around for the championship game. And so many so many players from other teams before the championship game were, wishing us luck and telling us they were excited to see us in the game and this and that, and afterwards. And a lot of the other festivals we play in, that's not necessarily the case. We've had bits and pieces, where you get that there's that camaraderie with other players from other teams, because they live it too. They know what that feels like, to come back from 8 runs or playing an exciting game. So they've lived that. So I think they maybe appreciate it more than the average fan who maybe hasn't. I remember Nick mentioned over the weekend that first Flat Rock game, they won in a walk-off, but we actually tied it in the top of the ninth, and it was very exciting. And one of the arbiters was the catcher from Elkton, and I think he was more excited and happier than we were that we had tied the game, because it was such an exciting game. And I thought that was a cool piece of it, is a lot of the players stick around, and they live it as well, just because they do it as well. So I think that's very cool.
I also heard from more than one ball player, that look, Flat Rock's a hell of a ball team. Excuse my language. I apologize. And they've beat everybody up for over a year. And so I heard from more than one ball player that's been on the wrong end of a Flat Rock drubbing that, go get them, boys. And it felt really nice to have some of that support, and be kind of the underdog, like there's an element of being on top that like isn't very much fun. And there's an element of, being an up and coming squad and being a new squad, and, trying to make a mark that I really like. Most of us are Yankees fans here, but it's not fun. Baseball is not fun if the Yankees win every year. Nobody likes that, or the Dodgers, I guess, these days. But
I would say baseball isn't fun if the Yankees win any year. But
now, did the Tigers still have a team after recent events?
Hey, we're tied for the wild card right now at time of recording. I'll have you know.
But it wasn't just the ladies that came up and sort of really kind of pulled us along. It was fans, it was players. It really felt like there was a lot of support for this like out of town newcomer team, and like not only did it feel welcoming, but like it felt motivating. and that's a pretty cool combination.
Yeah, really, the crowd was incredible. Regardless of who they were rooting for, just a lot of spectators, kids, people wearing Canton shirts or Flat Rock shirts or Walker Tavern shirts. Regardless of who it was, they were coming up and talking to us and having great conversations and being very positive. I mean, it was awesome, really. The fact that it didn't matter if they were rooting for Flat Rock or not in like the championship, they're still gonna sit here and have a great conversation and just want to hear your story and where do you guys come from and how far did you travel and yeah, it was amazing. There wasn't a single spectator that I met all weekend that had anything negative to say.
That's good. I mean, that's a testament to both you and Flat Rock. I certainly don't want to bury Flat Rock in this here. I mean, it is sometimes it is like kind of like you mentioned, but it's lonely at the top sometimes. And Flat Rock has worn that hat for a year now. But even before the game gets started, like I'm seeing both of your teams, talking to each other, socializing with each other, like. You're my opponent, but you're not my enemy, and so it's nice to be able to see that kind of fraternization going on. But then the first pitch happens, and then who knows what might happen from there. But to have that carry through here is really cool. I want to just because we're getting tight on time here. I want to get at least to the exciting part here. So it's Flat Rock drops 8 in the first inning, 1, 2, 3 for you guys in the bottom half of the first, and I know there's some people going, uh-oh. Then an 8-run for you all, and now all of a sudden it's a whole new ball game. It's a whole lot tighter. We're going into the ninth, the bottom half of the ninth. You all I think you won the toss, so you would be in the bottom half here. Mike, walk us through the hit. Walk us through the one. I don't know if you've ever had a walk off, whether whether you were running and scored the run or you hit it, if it's ever happened to you. But walk us through that play, that event to seal the deal for you guys.
Well, I got to kind of set the tone by rewinding a little bit. Flat Rock scored that run, and I think I can speak for everybody when I say, the best way I can put it is there wasn't a whole lot of nervousness or anxiousness because in the bottom half of that inning, we had that was best case scenario for us. Top of the order was coming up, and for the most part, outside of the bottom of the first inning, generally we can produce when our best hitters are up at bat. And so I just had a feeling, whether it would be me, whether it would be somebody else, it was going to happen, And Dylan led off, I believe, with a single. And obviously you're feeling even better. And then Luke hit that ground rule double, I believe, to kind of really set the tone. And, it's just, there was not an ounce of nervousness because if I didn't get it done, I knew Troy would, or if Troy didn't get it done, I knew Nick would, so on and so forth. So I just remember walking to the plate, and the one thing I remember, and I think I said this Sunday night, was looking at Dylan, and him and I just share this big smile, just because we kind of knew what was one way or another what was going to happen. And scouting reports didn't exist back in 1867, but I'm a dead pull hitter, so I knew if I just hit it hard somewhere, in the air, Dylan could tag.
To third base.
Yeah, from third, and so I knew, whether it was a long fly ball, whether it was a single, whatever was necessary to get the job done. So it really, them leading off the way they did, it kind of set the tone for, it was just another at bat, and it was just super exciting to be a part of. And when it happened, I forgot about the fact that you had to play out the inning. So, I had that single, and right then, obviously, I know that Dylan's going to score the winning run. And I threw my bat down, and when I did that, it hurt my hammy a little, so I kind of felt like a dweeb, and so I flexed like even more of a dweeb, and then realized shortly after that we had to play out the inning anyway, so it was a walk off, but it wasn't a walk off. But truly, I don't think the weekend could have ended any other way. I mean, every game we had to come from behind. We are a solid ball club, and we do win more than we lose, but to have to claw back the way we did just made it that much sweeter. And I'd be lying if I said, we didn't score a ton of runs, all weekend. There were games where we didn't hit as well as we normally do. So when Flat Rock led off the way they did, although obviously we still have hope, it was not ideal because, we hadn't scored, I believe, more than 7 runs in an inning all tournament. And I said to myself, I'm like, that was not the way we wanted to start. But rewinding to that one moment, it was when we had our 8-run inning where I said to myself, I'm like, we can do this, And then as it got later, I knew we would. So it's the best way I can encapsulate that.
Go to first. He's gotta go to first. Finish the inning. Gotta go to.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think there was any doubt in anybody's mind going into the 9th inning, even after Flat Rock, tied the ball game. Coming up 1-2-3. We knew we were going to score, and there was not a single person on our team that had any doubt in that. And so we just got up there and did what we know what to do and hit the ball. And like Mike said, if he grounded out, then he knew that somebody behind him we were gonna score. And it happened. And like I said, Dylan ran in and scored. Luke was behind him. Luke forgot to even go to the bag. So we had to tell him, like, you got to go back and touch the plate. And so did the umpire. Asti was like, Luke, you need to go touch home plate. As Mike was, flexing down the first plate baseline. But yeah, it was incredible. It was an amazing moment. And, as soon as we got in that 9th inning, we, and played solid defense, and they scored 1 run. And it was tied. We knew we were going to be able to produce 1 run at least, coming up with the top of the order.
Well,
go ahead, Nick.
No, I just think when you have 2 teams like that, it so often just comes down to who's got last ups, and we had them. And when you got 2 teams matched like that, a lot of times that's just what it is. Whoever's last up.
Yep. So we jabbed Mike a little bit about his flex, but Nick, you're not out of the woods on this one either.
Oh boy.
So after the game is settled, we know that Bovina is going to win, but we finish out the inning. It's a full 9-inning game. We want to maximize the fun because that's why we play this game. Nick hits a ball that Cannon, the left fielder for Flat Rock, said it's the farthest I've ever seen a ball hit on this field before. And so Nick goes into third. Can you tell me about the primal scream that you let out when you got to third, when the game was all said and done there?
I don't know, man. I'm a lawyer in my real life, and I don't get to do that very often. So, if I've got occasion to let the caveman in me out, I want to let it out once in a while. But no, in all seriousness, I think that, I was not expecting to do that, but also the game was won at that point. And I don't really try and hit for power. I try and hit line drives. But at that point, it didn't matter. So I just went up there and like, just tried to, go for it. And, I didn't pop out. But also I think that, it kind of brings it all back to one of the first things I talked about here, which is that like, I've legitimately been thinking about this for a year. I have wanted this for a year. I'll be in the gym doing squats and I'll be thinking about winning the world tournament. I'll be like going for a run and I want to stop up a hill by my house and I'll be like thinking about, next time legging out that triple into a home run. That's somewhat embarrassing actually. But I'm reading Haney's like in the car on the way there, and I'm following Flat Rock on Facebook, and I'm like, organizing a group of 10 guys and families to drive 600 miles, hotels, kids, staying in shape, reading this has been on my mind for a year. And so finishing something that took that much, thought and dedication and seeing it through, it's the only thing I think I could do at that point was to just, also like my stepson, like adores dinosaurs. And so like our house is a lot of roars in our house. And so, all I could think of was just like, this is T-Rex. That's all I got, right? I don't even have words. I had legitimately forgotten that happened until you reminded me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not embarrassed. Like it was a very like true response of how I felt, but I just, even later that night, everybody's kind of hanging out around the fire. We had this nice Airbnb. And I sort of had to go inside and like sit down by myself for a minute and just kind of, just be with myself for a moment. Because the Dairymen's a huge part of my life, and as it is for everybody on this call. But especially for me, like kind of, being the captain or whatever, I put a lot of my heart and soul into this thing. And for it to all come together like that on a weekend, like last weekend, was really special. And
that's powerful stuff. That's super powerful to hear, and it's really flattering, to hear all of you saying how much the tournament means. I mean, we do put a lot of effort into it, so to know that it comes through with other clubs is really nice. Just on a personal story, the La-Di-Das won their first world tournament in 2007, and that was, for me, that was the first baseball tournament I've ever won. I runner up in a few tournaments, but I never actually won one, and it was the first one I ever won. And so when we won, I'm 24 and I think I start crying, and my girlfriend, now wife, is like, "Great job. Are you crying?" And she was almost like why is like, I don't know, it just means so much kind of deal. So I hear you, I feel you. I would have, I when I saw you do that and heard you do that, there's a little part of me that was like, yeah, you earned it, Nick. You let it out, big man. You earned it here. Before we get to kind of my last little section here, I want to make sure you guys get to talk about this here. Tell everybody, for those who don't know, what is the Cowtown Scramble, and what that entails here.
Nick?
Cowtown Scramble is something that we came up with a couple of years ago. It's our festival, first weekend in October every year. Catskill Mountains, the leaves are changing. We've got 3 fields. One of our ball players, John Finn, graciously donates his property. We've got 3 gorgeous ball fields to play on. And this year we've got 12 teams coming. The last couple of years we've been in the 12 to 10 team range, mostly like Mid-Atlantic and Northeast circuit and like the New York circuit. But trying to lure some teams from the Midwest circuit out. So, if anybody wants to come, it's gorgeous. Leaves are changing. It's an hour from Cooperstown. Good excuse to go to Cooperstown. There's free camping and not free Airbnbs. So you guys can feel free to choose your poison there. But if anybody's interested, just shoot me an email. We'd be more than happy to host you guys.
Yeah. If I could have gotten more of my good for nothing teammates to join me, I was, when you were describing it last year, we talked last year about it, and it's like, we should do it, and like, oh, I'm gonna be hurt. Oh, I got a thing. Like, you cowards. So
we don't have a title. We do have a butter churn that we put. All the captains that attend vote on like who gets to earn the churn, and it's not just a record thing. It's a character thing. It's a story thing. And so if there's a team that, we won it one year. I hate to like win my own trophy, but we capped off. We had a perfect season, and I think Flat Rock won 35 in a row. I think we ended up winning 34 in a row over that season and part of another one. But we capped off a perfect season with a come from behind walk-off victory over Connecticut, who's a darn good ball club. Mm-hmm. And so like we won the churn that year. We were 4-0 at the tournament at the festival. But last year I think a team won that was 2-2. They just like put together a gritty performance, and they had one of their guys get hurt and keep playing, and they like fessed up some umpires when some other guys bailed, and it's just like so they won it last year, even though they were 2-2. And so that's how we sort of give out the award at the Cowtown Scramble. Earn the churn.
So we, for anybody that's in the Midwest that is looking, you're probably looking at 27 by this point here. So for anybody that's looking for something fun to do early October for 2027 here, please call me so I can get an excuse to come out here. Guys, I want to end you with some real quick questions. No thought. Immediate impulse answers here before we close it down for the night, and I need an answer from everybody. Okay, Troy, I'm gonna start with you, but everybody has to answer the questions here. Troy,
all right, here we go.
Did you prefer Walnut Grove Field 1 or Field 2?
Oh, Field 2. I felt pressured to hit it to right field, and without playing like Walnut 1 all the time. It's like that tree is so intimidating, and everybody from like Canton, Flat Rocks was just like, just hit it into the tree. And I'm like, I just can't. Like it feels weird hitting the ball and like knowing that if you do it twice to the train tracks, it's going to be an out. So yeah, Field 2 all day, unless we play there more, and yeah, and I can just trust everybody just to hit it to right field anyways.
Dylan.
I'd say Field 2 as well. If for no other reason than I've caught some really rough bounces at shortstop on Field 1 that I don't know that I've necessarily caught on Field 2, but just I feel like I hit the ball better there too. It sounds silly. I don't know why. That's my answer.
Okay. Mike.
I think I would also go Field 2. I echoing what Dylan said, I also feel like I hit the ball better there. It is a little my guess is, like I said, I'm kind of a pull hitter, and when the crowd's down the left field line, it just has a different field to it. The different areas of shade, and Field 1 are a little, it throws you off a little bit. I think both fields are great. Would play on both fields any day of the week, but butter churn to my head, I'd pick Field 2.
Nick.
Field 1, man. That's where the championship game happens.
Yeah, that's like everybody on the Lottie does is like field 1 for World Tournament at 2:45 on Sunday. But every other time I like field 2. So Marcus, you're a player. Field 1 or field 2?
If I'm playing the 8 a.m. game, which I often was, I would say field 1, because on field 2, the sun is coming right into the catcher's eyes on that 8 a.m. game. But I spend a lot more of my time on the hill announcing, and so I got a bias towards field 1, because that's where we get the crowds who are really hardcore into the game. So that's where I spend more of my time these days.
Okay. All right, Dylan, you're leading off with this one here. Think about your teammates. Think about all the guys on the Bovina Dairymen. Which one do you think would have made the best 19th century farmer?
Oh boy. Luke.
Mike.
Dylan. That's who. Dylan.
Nick.
Gary. He's an actual farmer in real life.
And Troy.
I would also say Gary. I mean, he's the closest to the, time frame that we're talking about. And like Nick said, he's a farmer. So yeah, he's got us beat by all of us by about 20 years at the minimum. So Gary all day.
All right. 2 more. Mike, you're leading off with this one. Assuming you do, how do you take your milk? What kind do you get at the store? How do you get it? How do you drink it? What's your milk of choice?
I mean, obviously the best kind is right out of the bulk tank, but whole milk for sure.
Okay, Nick.
Well, my wife's a vegetarian, basically, so I drink a lot of soy milk. So that's what I get now.
Okay. Troy.
I don't think my answer is appropriate.
Okay. We're going to change the rating on the YouTube upload here just for that question there. Dylan.
It's all natural.
I would go either, like Brownie said, straight out of the bulk tank, raw milk, or whole milk.
Good. All right, last one. Nick, you're going to lead this off for here. Next year, you're at the World Tournament. What is the team that wasn't here this past year? What is the team that you most would like to meet in the finals? That maybe they are coming to the tournament. It's their first time. Who do you want to play in the finals next year?
Who do I want to play in the finals next year that wasn't there that wasn't in the finals, or that wasn't at the tournament?
That wasn't at the tournament. Somebody else, somebody's brand new, never been to the tournament before, but you know him, you've played him before. Who would you like to play?
There's a lot of good teams that we play pretty regular. I would say the Dirigo Baseball Club of Maine. When they bring their A squad, they beat us in a walk-off this year, actually, at the Westfield tournament. They're great dudes. I've known a lot of them for a long time. One of their organizers, Chuck, was one of the first guys I ever met in vintage baseball. And so, any project that he's involved with, I want to see it succeed. And so the Dirigo Club of Maine, they're good dudes and great ball players.
Okay. Troy.
I'd probably say Flower City. We've never played them before, and we've heard a lot of heard a lot of things about this team and how they're, very competitive ball club. But for being in the same state, we've never actually played them. So, yeah, for sure, Flower City.
Okay. Dylan.
This is a really hypothetical, but I'd like to see us play the Roxbury 9 from 10 years ago.
They were a heck of a ball team.
Okay. Mike, finish us off.
Ooh, really shooting from the hip here because Troy stole my answer. So, oh man. We played. We had some close games in Gettysburg. Lewis, Kennett Square, or Elkton, any given day are very competitive ball clubs, and would be great additions to the tournament. Whether they'd win it or not, I don't know, but definitely strong ball clubs who have given us all we can handle in the past. So,
Marcus, sorry I missed you there. So let's catch you up. First, really quickly, how do you take your milk?
Whole milk for sure.
Okay. And who's coming to the World Tournament that you would like to see?
So I'm not going to answer this one because I'm going to be calling some of those games. So I'm going to say I want to see good clubs who are going to give these gentlemen a run for their money. Yeah, I'm going to just be glad to see teams that come out and play the game the way it's supposed to be played, and give the folks up on the hill a good experience and a good sense of what 19th century baseball is like. And there's a ton of those clubs.
Well, we to our fine gentlemen from Bovina, New York, once again, congratulations on your as your 2026 World Tournament of Historic Baseball champions. You gave us great baseball, and as Marcus said, you played the game as it was intended to be played. You played hard. You played strong. One of the things I was telling somebody is like, watch the way that they run. They run like they're angry at the ground. And it's like, it just shows you like speed, speed, put your head down. But at the end, you were gracious to everybody that came to you. So it is much appreciated for everything that you did. So congratulations on a tournament well played. If we don't see each other sooner, have a great scramble, have a great off season, and we look forward to seeing all of you back at the World Tournament in 2027 for the 160th anniversary of the original World Tournament in Detroit there. So thank you all very much, guys. It is truly appreciated, and we hope to see you all again real soon here.
Thanks, Jeff.
thank you,
Marcus.
Jeff.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you, Marcus. Thank you.
So with that here, we'll pull it down. I always knew it was like optimistic that I said, 45 minutes. And we didn't even get to the introductions, and it's like 20 minutes in. So, right. So this may be one you have to watch in a few parts, everyone. But nevertheless, we hope you enjoy it. Marcus, real quick before we wrap it up here, and it doesn't have to be real quick here, but from all the games that we saw, from the three that I partook in, but you certainly saw and called more. What was your takeaways or things that you remember most from this year's World Tournament?
It was it was good, solid play throughout. There were strong passions about the game and making sure that things got called correctly. And even when those things happen, like I had one player who very clearly thought I made a wrong call, no question about it. And later on came up to me to apologize and said, look, I'm sorry. And you did exactly the right thing. You were passionate about where you were going. I didn't think he was out of line, but I love that there was strong, people were into the games. Nobody was getting blown out, right? This was not, we've had some years, we joke about one team from several years ago who they scored their first run in the final inning to make the score 50-1. And we weren't seeing any of those games in the tournament. And it was good throughout. And as the gentleman from Bovina said, any one of these teams, if the ball had bounced a different way, might have come up with a different outcome. We had one unfortunate situation in a game where a spectator got involved in the play. And I appreciated that the spectators helped make sure that didn't happen again. I always point out that the newspaper accounts would always comment on the behavior of the spectators and did they welcome the teams and cheer for good play on both sides. And so I think an 1867 newspaper account would have had good things to say about the spectators at the tournament as well. All in all, I think it was, I was delighted that the forecasts for calling for rain were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And we made it through a lot of things. So it was a really solid tournament throughout.
Yeah, we got the rain, but it was well after we got the tarps on and after everybody had long since gone home with that. But for those of us that are still shell shocked from 2004 and having the whole tournament washed out, remembering poor Mike Ossie, and with his rake trying to smooth out a puddle that is just not gonna go away there.
He was raking water.
Yeah, he was raking water. He might as well have had an oar. I mean, it was the poor guy here. So to have good weather is always appreciated here. And I wanted to make sure, I patted you on the back for it, Marcus. Here, I know the play that he's talking about, where somebody in the crowd said, that a hit ball was foul, even though you didn't call it fair, but you did what you were supposed to do with regard to a fair ball, which is say nothing. And I think everybody on the field knew that it was fair until this person yelled foul, and then calamity ensued. And you did the best with what you could. I think it smoothed over as in the best way that you possibly could have. There's just it was a crap situation that was either a triple play or it was a bases clearing double or triple.
Right.
There was just no way around it here. So kudos to you, Marcus, I think, to not only pacify the teams and the players, but doing the game as good a justice as you could have in that moment.
Well, the rules, and I believe I think it's maybe section 32, says that the umpire is the judge of all fair and unfair play, which essentially says, or one way to interpret that is, if there's something not in the rules, the umpire figures out how to handle it. And I hate to ever rely on that. I don't want to be the person doing that. I want the game to go the way it should go. But that was one case where that did happen. And nothing even remotely like that happened at any other point. That we resolved it, we moved forward. Neither side was really thrilled. As you said, one side lost a triple play and the other side lost 3 runs, and we just redid the whole play. But I think, what I appreciated was the spirit of the players, who neither side was thrilled, but they played on as gentlemen, and the spirit of the spectators who wanted the game to continue and wanted to go forward with fair play. And so I thought that there was an unfortunate situation that only good came out of.
Right. Yeah. And I think I think all of us as players, it felt like we were a little more respectful of all of the umpires, not just you, but of all the umpires. Like we know we've been on both ends of a crud situation here, but the the umpiring crew, you and Paul and Mr. Spiteman and Mr. Davies, you know, you all did a bang up job what is a very thankless job, can be a very thankless job.
I know it was Freudian that you just left out Mr. Rossi there, but
Mr. Rossi as well, yes.
Hey, before we shut down, I want to just do a quick rundown. People may have seen this online, but just a real quick rundown of the awards that were given out, just straight through. Nick Franzen, who was just here with us of the Bovina Dairymen, was the best captain. Rudy Frias of the Columbus Capitals was the best pitcher. Donnie Jones of the Bear Clan of Flat Rock was the best catcher. In our skills competition, Joe Terwilliger of the Corn Shuckers was the best runner on the bases, and Troy Tucker, again, who was just with us of the Bovina Dairymen, was the best thrower on distance. The Bovina Dairymen were also the club from the greatest distance, having come 604 miles. Jeff, I hate to say it, but the recipients of the Peanuts for the worst beaten clubs, as it were in 1867, were the Bay City Independents and the Lottie-Daws of Greenfield Village. The club wearing the best uniform was again Bovina Dairymen, although, as noted, allegations of ballot stuffing were made. The Henry Chadwick Sportsmanship Award went to the Lottie-Daws of Greenfield Village, captained by Jeff Cougar Kozlowski. The third-class champions were the Columbus Buckeyes, the second-class champions, the Corn Shuckers of Canton, the first-class runners-up, the Bear Clan of Flat Rock, and the first-class champions, whose names will be inscribed on the Greenfield Village trophy, the Dairymen of Bovina.
So congratulations to all our winners, both individual and team-based, and even for those who did not come away with any hardware. You know, your presence is very greatly appreciated. You know, we had good representation, you know, amongst our areas here, from Illinois, 2 teams from Ohio, a team from New York, 2 teams from Greenfield Village. I mean, we had a nice mixture, a nice array of teams from elsewhere. And you know, when we get teams that you know, talking to the Dairymen, saying like, we played the Columbus Buckeyes for the first time, and you know, that's very cool that we're kind of building some relationships there. Right. To then hear, you know, the Buckeyes and the Oregon Ganymedes of Oregon, Illinois, talking about each other being good friends playing, you think like, wow, these teams are separated by a pretty good amount of distance. Who'd have thought like these two would be like, oh yeah, we play each other and they're good dudes. Like, that's the kind of the nice spirit that the World Tournament brings on. So for all the players and for all the teams, whether you win home with a golden baseball, $300, or a stale ass bag of peanuts for the second straight year.
Hey, I've had that as well, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So know full well that the squirrels living in the trees behind me very much thank you for all those peanuts there. But yeah, so we'll wrap it up here with our recap of the World Tournament 2026. I guess this would be, technically it's the 22nd time that we've had a winner, 24th that it would have theoretically been done, not including 67 here, at least as in a Greenfield Village standpoint. But it's a pleasure to do, and now that I'm thinking about it, lastly here, a special thank you to all the works and efforts of Mr. Jim Johnson, Papa Marino, one of the earliest, eldest of the Lottie-Daws, who is calling it a career after 47 years of service to the Henry Ford, starting either, I don't know if it was in food service or was on Firestone Farm, but man has seen it all institutionally. Mr. Rossi acknowledged him before, I think it was before the last game on Saturday, and talked about how much he would be missed and how so much of the events of Greenfield Village really have his stamp on it. And that's truer words were not spoken. From Halloween and holiday nights to Old Car Festival. I mean, they will not make another one like Jim. So on behalf of all the la-di-das, Jim, it's been a pleasure working with you. It's certainly not goodbye. We hope it's see you later. We hope we'll get to see you again here. But thank you for everything that you've done for the historic baseball program.
Absolutely.
So with that, we'll call it a night. On behalf of the entirety of the la-di-das, we appreciate you coming in, Marcus. As always, thank you for joining us. But we're not done yet, though. We still got a few more games left, don't we?
We do have some more games, and we've got a Massachusetts rules baseball demonstration coming up as well, and a picked 9 game. So we've got some 1867, our standard, and we've still got a couple of extra special things coming up before the end of the season.
So expect us to kind of fill you in, especially the Massachusetts rules game, for a lot of the guys who are young enough to remember and maybe even played in the Massachusetts game when we played in front of Martha Mary. When we saw that on the schedule, we went, "Oh baby, let's see if we still remember how to soak some kids." Not literally kids, but you get what we mean. Marcus, thank you once again for coming on with me here.
Always good. We'll see you again.
For everybody listening in, it is it's always 1867 on Walnut Grove. We appreciate you coming on board. We hope that you continue to strike well, be safe, and we will see you on Walnut Grove again real soon.